Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about how Generation X navigated the changing family structure that was created by the boomers. Now just to state a few facts here. The boomers, they grew up in a family structure where the divorce rate, the highest the divorce rate ever got was like 11%. Okay, so throughout their generation, they had fairly secure family, homes. The nuclear family held together pretty well. They'd come home to a mother and a father, and mom would be cooking dinner and dad would be coming home from work or whatever. That kind of Leave It to Beaver style household, the idyllic family. Now when the boomers came of age, they were pushing for this divorce stuff, and California pushed the first no-fault divorce law, and then all the other states followed. So people could just get divorced willy-nilly, and then the divorce rate climbed to 40% during the boomers' time to marry and have kids and all that shit. The divorce rate just exploded from 11% to 40% divorce rate. Now at Gen X, our divorce rate hovered around 30%, somewhere in there. So we kind of brought it back somewhere toward normal. But growing up like that was different in a way that it was a new thing. Okay, before us, you had a random person every once in a while, that would have a step parent or divorced parents or whatever, but never like a cultural wide thing like we had. We grew up, almost half of us, right, with divorced parents and two separate households, going to one household for your birthday and then coming home and having another birthday and all this weird shit. So we had to learn to navigate all that stuff. Or maybe one parent just vanished, as in my case. So we had to learn to deal with that in a lot of instances. Either both, if you were lucky enough to have both parents stick together, a lot of times they had to work, right? So both of them worked. So you were home alone anyway. If you had a single parent, damn sure that that parent worked, because it was the only income provided to the household. So a lot of times you would be neglected and come home into an empty house and all that. So even if you had both parents, you still liable to come home to an empty house and be a latchkey kid. And us, we were the first generation as a whole to have to navigate this new kind of era. The boomers didn't know how to deal with it, right? How to deal with your ex civilly and share custody of the kid and all that stuff and all this. It was all a new thing that the boomers had just invented. They had just basically made it socially acceptable, right? Before that, in the 50s and earlier, it was frowned upon to get a divorce, culturally speaking, right? You just didn't do that. It wasn't, it was frowned upon to cheat on your spouse, whether you were a man or a woman. It was frowned upon to cheat on your spouse. Culturally, your neighbors and your family and stuff would judge you for that. Now all that's gone away, so there's no judgment. You just do whatever the hell you want, get however many divorces you want, cheat on all of them. None of that shit matters to anybody anymore. So whether you think that's right or wrong, that's up to you. I'll leave that to your own judgment. But back in the day, there was kind of like cultural police, a policing, not individual police, but a policing of the culture by your neighbors, your friends, your family. We kind of kept they kind of kept each other in line. Now, In today's day and age, that shit's just completely vanished. People just do whatever the hell they want without worrying about what the hell the society might think of them. It doesn't matter what's good for the kids, what's best for the kids, or any of that shit. And in my opinion, we have the boomers to thank for that. So growing up in this new era of skyrocketing divorce rates, single parents, moving families, going back and forth between two families, because your dad would get divorce your mom, and they'd split up, and they'd meet new people, and they'd get married again, and now you had two distinct separate families. And learning to deal with a step parent like that, a lot of times your new step parent would not like you, or would favor their own kids over you, or whatever the deal was. Now I was lucky when my dad remarried. My stepmom was a really good woman, and so that was a blessing in my childhood, growing up that way. He met her and married her just a couple of years before I left for the Army, so I wasn't too, I was like 17 when they met, and then 18 or 19, and I left for the Army. So it wasn't like I, grew up for years with her, but still, she was very nice, really, really great woman. So I was blessed in that way, but a lot of people weren't. A lot of us had to learn to navigate all these new personalities coming into our lives, these different personalities, these different beliefs, and all this stuff. And it wasn't an easy time to be a kid. Though we had a lot of freedom, but it was not easy. The home was not easy. I think that's why we stayed out a lot. We would have rather been outside. Now, a lot of us overcorrected in that. When we had our own kids, we overcorrected and did the whole helicopter parenting thing, right? Because we didn't want to treat our kids the way we were treated, and a lot of us went overboard. Not all of us. I didn't. And I know a lot of you in the audience here, the people who watch Gen X Thinks, might not have overdid it, but quite a few Gen Xers did. Did the whole helicopter parenting thing. And, I just personally, my opinion, I don't think that worked out too well. I just don't think so. These kids should be tougher than they are, but that's not the subject of today's video. And when you think about that change, that fundamental change in society and in our culture, and you add that that change to all the other changes that we have seen throughout our lifetimes, I'm telling you, Generation X has lived through more change, more chaos, more disruption from the time we were born until now than any generation in history. All right, look at all the shit. I mean, with all the technology boom and the internet and the divorce becoming a common thing, and now transgenderism and all this crazy shit, right? We have lived through and seen more change than, I don't know, 10 generations before us, maybe 20. I don't think I'm exaggerating. Maybe 30, maybe 50. I don't know. Many generations back to add up all the change that they saw to equal to ours that we've seen in this one generation. All right, and it's insane when you think about it, because and all of that change and all of that chaos and confusion really honed us. It shaped us into who we are today. It turned us into the skeptical, kind of standoffish people that we are today. We're self-reliant. We don't trust. We don't depend on or trust any any other institutions or big corporations or governments or stuff like that. We're self-reliant, reserved, and self-sufficient in many ways. I need to look it up how many from each generation are on some kind, not counting the boomers now because they're on Social Security a lot, but some kind of government assistance. I bet that Generation X is a relatively small number compared to other generations. But yeah, I might be wrong about that, but it just seems like it would be to me. That really shaped us. It really did. And it's continuing to shape us into the future. We're going to go into retirement seeing all this chaos and change that's swirling around us now. And we were born into an uncertain future. We didn't know if our parents were going to be together next month. All of our friends' parents were getting divorced and shit. We didn't know if we were going to be alive tomorrow because of the nuclear holocaust that was always imminent, the ice age and shit. We didn't know if there was going to acid rain was going to pour down on us on the way to school. Our entire lives have been wrapped in confusion and doubt. So you cannot blame a people for distrust then when all they've known is chaos and doubt. You cannot blame them for being distrustful and cynical and questioning literally everything, right? That's why I do not blame flat earthers at all for questioning whether the earth is spherical or not. I don't blame them at all. More power to them. Question that shit. Question it. Find the hell out whether it is or not. Maybe it is flat. Hell, let's ask the question. That old proverb, no, there is no such thing as a stupid question, right? I firmly believe that. We should be questioning everything. And I think that's kind of what Gen X is. We're the cynics who question everything. As a generation, I think we're the ones bringing a lot into the light. We're shining a light on the hypocrisy and the bullshit that's going on in today's world. We're exposing the truth in a lot of ways, and I believe that maybe that's our mission in this life. Our generation's mission is to hold on to the truth, cling to reality, and expose the lies and the hypocrisy, the fraudulence, the corruption, if nothing else, So, and that's not, I'm not just talking about the government and all that stuff. I'm talking about everything, the lies, the hypocrisy, and everything. Socially, with all this transgender and all the divorce and all the, just everything. In culture, in politics, in corporate business, on every level of our society is just infused with lies and corruption and deceit, theft. It's really mind-blowing. But people deserve to know, and Gen X is the one telling them, as far as I can see. So let's keep just pointing out the truth. It's a simple thing, not ridiculously hard to do, and we're the ones who are wired for it, right? We're wired for it. We're wired to want to know the truth and to question that shit. If your step parent said something crazy that your biological parent said the opposite, so now that brings questions into your head. What the hell are you talking about? That's not right. I know because Dad told me this. So that's just how we came up, how we grew up, and it stuck with us through all these years. And I think that's a good thing. If we're going to get anything from all that chaos and all that pain and neglect and abandonment most of us anyway, live through. our love for and maybe obsession with the truth is a good thing. So I'm proud of our generation. We've lived through some horrible shit and a lot of changes, and I'm just proud to be Generation X, y'all. So I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. I appreciate all these folks here on the banner. They're all members, been supporting the channel for a while, and I just want to thank them for doing that. It means a hell of a lot, and it's very helpful, so thank you to everybody on the banner down there. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there, or you can hit that hype button. That hype button's a new thing that YouTube's doing for smaller channels, so if you do that for me, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll put that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really appreciate that. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.